I grew up in Holly, New York, which is a small town of about 2,500 people west of Rochester. It's a farming community. Most people that lived out there either farmed or a lot of the people worked at Kodak at the time. It was a very big industry in Rochester, which is now dying. And I lived in just a small house outside of the village. And my first job was one that I inherited from my brother. It was a newspaper route, which at that time, newspaper boys actually rode their bikes or walked their routes, delivered the papers door to door, and then each week we would have to go around and collect money for the routes, or it was once a month. I can't remember which. But so I did that for a couple of years, getting up every morning before school at like 5:30 in the morning to do my newspaper route, and then come home, get ready, and go to school. Then after school, I would do the collections. And then on Sundays and holidays, it was even more of a chore because the newspapers were really thick. We had to put all the inserts in, and it was not a lot of fun. I did that for a couple of years, and then I worked on a friend's farm. Most of the time I did not get paid. It was just I helped them out. But then I did start working for a local farmer, working in the orchards, cleaning up, cutting firewood, and he would pay me by the hour. So those were my first couple of jobs, and then I finally got a job in a restaurant, washing dishes, and doing a little bit of cooking. And then when I was like a senior in high school, I got my first job working at an electrical supply store, which turned out to be helping me out in my career at the time as an electrician. So a normal high school day for me, which would have been in the late 70s and early 80s, I did attend WMOCO to learn a trade. Went for hydraulics and heavy equipment operator. So I would go in the morning to Spencerport by bus, and then come back to Holly, and I would have like 2 or 3 classes in the afternoon that I would have to attend. And I actually was able to do an internship my senior year with a local fire department as part of my hydraulics class at WMOCO. So my senior year, I spent very little time in the classroom. And so that was a normal school day for me in my high school years. So growing up, my goal was always to be a firefighter. I was one of those kids. I saw fire trucks. I hung around the firehouse in my local village. My dad, my uncles, my grandfather were all firefighters. So that's what my goal was. But working in the electrical supply store that I worked in, I learned to do electrical work, ended up being hired by an electrician. And then I decided I was going to go in the Air Force. But unfortunately, when I went to sign up, they could not guarantee me the firefighting program, so I did not end up entering the Air Force. So I continued working for the electrical supply store, ended up getting hired by an electrician who then taught me the trade more thoroughly, and actually ended up having my own business for about a year and a half. And then I did finally get hired as a firefighter in Henrietta, where I've now been for 28 years, and still have been able to use my electrical knowledge, both supplies and installation as an electrician, over the years as a side job. After school every day, we would all come home, change our clothes, and go out, play football, baseball, soccer, kill the man with a ball, all kinds of activities. So those are some fond memories, but I just love to ride my bicycle. So friends of mine, we would get on our bicycles and ride from Holly to Hamlin Beach, which was about probably a 20-mile ride, sometimes once or twice a week. And when I think back nowadays, I can't even imagine letting any of my kids do that. But we spent a lot of time, my friends and I, riding our bikes after school, and until we all got busy with jobs. But so normally for family dinner night, back in those days, we did not eat out much. My mom raised us alone because my father was gone, and so there was three of us, three kids in the house, and we all had responsibility. So every night when she got home from work, she would make dinner, or we might have, helped out in that too. But we always sat down as a family just about every night and ate dinner together. And then after dinner, each one of us had a responsibility. One person washed the dishes, one person dried them, one person put them away and cleaned up. So that was something we did just about every night. So I was raised in a Christian home. My mother always stressed that it was a very important part of our lives. We were raised in the Episcopal Church, and it was in Holly. It was a very small church. The majority of the people in that village were Catholic, but there was also Baptist churches, Lutheran, Methodist. But we were raised in the Episcopal Church, and like I say, it was a very small, family-oriented church. I did serve as an acolyte or an altar boy, helping with communion and doing different things, singing in the choir. And I just remember it being very, very important.